Hey, good morning. It's Valerie Holdren. It's the Sunday after Christmas, and I decided that I wanted to do another video. I guess I need to say that I don't feel that I'm that great of a teacher because I don't, well, often when I'm doing videos, I don't think to tell you why I'm doing what I'm doing, but I just like the interaction with fellow soap makers, whether you be veterans or rookies, newcomers. But anyway, I've been looking for a fragrance that is a little more masculine, but not too masculine that the ladies wouldn't want it. And I think I have found it. Excuse me, I have a frog in my throat. I did place an order from Steph's Micas the other day. Love her micas. And I was scrolling through her fragrance oils and came across Oakmoss and Amber. And as I was reading about it, I thought, well, that sounds really interesting. So I ordered it. And when I unpackaged it the other day and smelled it, I thought I had found it. It smells kind of like a men's cologne, yet not so masculine that women wouldn't like it. I love it. So anyway, I'm going to be scenting with that fragrance today. And the colors that I'm going to use, I'm going to do something a little different. I haven't done a pencil line in a long time. I do those every once in a while. So I'm going to be attempting to do that today with Gold Shimmer from Steph's Micas. And the colors I'm going to use to represent the colors of the sound of the fragrance oil are Hunter Green from Steph's Micas to represent the moss, Cocoa Brown for the oak, and Bronze Satin for the amber color. So that's what I have in my head. We'll see how it works. So my oils and my lye are ready. I'm just going to double check my crock pot's on low. And I always stir my oils so that I get them mixed up for a proper temperature, because if you take them right from the top, you're not going to get very accurate. They're at 188. I'm going to cut that off. And my lye solution is at 180. So I'm going to go ahead and mix the two. In here I have a tablespoon of Kaolin Clay and a tablespoon of Colloidal Oatmeal. Get that more centered. And I'm going to be adding 2 ounces of coconut milk, and I have this heated. And I'm going to save the other 2 ounces back to add after the cook. So I'm going to go ahead and start. I have my gloves on, my glasses, my long sleeves. Although I was tempted not to wear my long sleeves because it's kind of humid here for December. I could deal with a winter in the 50s and 60s. So I'm going to pour the lye solution down the shaft of the stick blender to keep from splashing and making air bubbles. And always, always, always remember to pour your lye into your water, not the opposite way around when you're dissolving your lye liquid. You don't want to pour water into lye. And in my lye liquid today, I have Mulberry Silk. I always use some form of silk, whether it be Tussa or mulberry. And right now I'm using mulberry. And so I have my lye solution mixed, and now I'm going to add in my 2 ounces of hot coconut milk. Just eyeballing it for about half. I'm going to bring this to about a medium to thick trace. It might take a little bit longer than normal because I'm using 30% lard, and I have found, at least for me, the higher percentage of lard soap seems to trace a little slower. Love that pretty sheen from the silk. And if you don't want to watch this part, all the way through, you can fast forward. A thin trace. I could stop right here, but I just like to go further. I love the look of it. And the thicker the trace, it takes a little less time for the cook, the thicker I get it. That's about a medium trace, so I'm going to stop there. My oils today are, as I said, 30% lard, 11% canola, haven't used canola in a while, and I just sometimes like to change things up. 12% castor, 16% coconut oil, 13% cocoa butter, and 18% olive oil. I've superfatted at 5% in the formula, and I'm going to add another 2% after the cook. And for that, I used Meadowfoam, Jojoba, and a little bit of lanolin. Let's see, what else about the soap? Nothing spectacular. I've just been trying to revise most of my formulas to keep the cleansing number down to 12 or below. Usually 10 to 12 is what I like. I do have a couple that are 13 to 14, but anything over 13, I think the other day, I just tweaked them just because I want the gentlest I can get. Let's see. The numbers on these were, my hardness is a 37, my cleansing is an 11, the conditioning is a 59, my bubbly was 22, creamy is 37, the iodine number was 61, the INS number was 140. So I was very pleased with these all together. And I'm going to just let this sit, and I will come back when it starts to do something. Okay, it's only been just a couple of minutes, and you can see that my soap, my batter is rising up like a souffle. And my crock pot is on off, so once I get this stirred down, I'm going to take the temperature, and I'm probably going to go ahead and remove it from the cooking unit, just because I don't want it to get super hot, and because it will be, I think, warm enough, hot enough to finish without any additional heat. A lot of times I get a good amount of separation when I use a higher percentage of lard, and I kind of expect that today. My temperatures are at 213. So I have my whisk ready that I'm going to be whisking it back together with. But the first thing I'm going to do is remove it from the cooking unit. Excuse me while I reach in front of you. I'm going to place it back on this mat that I have. I usually do that, number one, to keep it from sliding, and number two, it helps keep some heat in. So you can probably see that there's quite a bit of separation going on. So I'm going to go ahead and just start whisking it. And if it takes too long to come back together, I'm going to use the stick blender again. Most of the time I try to get it with the whisk, but sometimes it requires bringing the stick blender back out again just because my arm gets tired. And we're at applesauce stage. And the temperature right now is 204. It's starting to get that really pretty glossy look. Good way to build your upper arm. Get rid of the school teacher arms, as they say. Scrape down my sides. And it's still separating, but I'm going to let that sit for a couple more minutes and see what happens. Okay, well, it's been a couple more minutes and it's still being stubborn, not wanting to stay together, so I'm going to go ahead and stick blend it just a little bit. I don't think it's going to take long at all, but just because I have things I need to do upstairs, I'm going to go ahead. And I'm just doing little bursts, little pulses. And that, my stick blender is giving me problems, but I think I can safely throw this one away. I've salvaged it about all I can salvage. And I'm going to just go ahead and toss this in the garbage while I'm doing it. And I'm at 201. And it's turning a really pretty Vaseline. I can tell it's not quite ready though. I did do this at 38% liquid, or water as percent of the oil weight. Sometimes I try to push the envelope with hot process and go 35, 33. But because I didn't want this one to move so fast, I just stuck with the 38. Yeah, that's really pretty. So I think I'm going to go ahead and take some out to zap test. I'm going to spray this down a little bit with my warm water to keep my sides moist and keep the top from getting so crusty. And I'm going to go and gather my superfat that's keeping warm on the stove and a couple of other additives, and I'll be back. Okay, I am completely neutral. No zap, so gloves are gone. And the first thing I like to add is my superfat. And as I mentioned, this is 2%. In addition to the 5% that I added up front. And this is Meadowfoam, some lanolin, and a little bit of jojoba. The majority is Meadowfoam. And I'll just get that mixed in nicely. The next thing I'll add is my yogurt. Probably going to switch to a bigger spatula because it gets thick and harder to stir with this little one. I love these little mini spatulas from Steph's Micas. They're so good for scraping. Okay. And this is 2 tablespoons of plain yogurt. 1 tablespoon per pound of oils, and this is a 2-pound batch. And get this incorporated really well and stirred in so that, because this crock is really hot, if you don't, you get little cooked pieces in your soap, and that doesn't look really nice. And the next thing is the remaining coconut milk that's been hot, heated on the stove. And that is a key to making really manageable or more fluid, workable hot process batter, is keeping everything warm. And some things hot, like my mold is in the oven on 170. That's the lowest that my oven will go. It's sitting in a loaf pan full of hot water. And that just helps to, doesn't, when you start pouring your batter in, your soap in, to not shock it in a cold mold. The same thing with this hot batter here. Everything I'm adding is warm or hot except for my yogurt. That was at room temperature. Sometimes I even put my yogurt in with my milk and keep it warm, but I didn't do that this time. I try different things. And just like with your yogurt, make sure that your milks are mixed in really well. Okay. And the next thing I'm going to add is my sugar, my apple cider vinegar, and sodium lactate. It's 2 tablespoons of vinegar, 1 tablespoon of sugar, and 2 teaspoons of sodium lactate. And I always do this. I mix those 3 things together, whether it be my honey, maple syrup, sugar, whichever sugar I use, I mix it with my apple cider vinegar and my sodium lactate. It's just what seems to work for me. So in goes that. I do want to check my temperature, although this isn't honey, so it's not that big of a deal. It's at 162. If I were adding honey, I wouldn't want to add it until my temperatures were 170 or below, but okay. Get all of that. And then after I get this mixed up, I'm going to cover it back up and let it sit for 3 to 5 minutes while I go back over to the stove and get my cups that I'm going to be pouring and separating the batter into for coloring, and my molds. And that will give me time to get that done and give this time for everything to kind of blend together. Don't have to, it's just, you know, it just kind of all seems to go together. And it just works really nicely. Get that covered back up. Scrape down my sides. And that's already a really nice consistency. Okay. Okay, everything is mixed together, and I changed my mind about what I was going to do. I am going to try the pencil line with mica, but I've decided to do an in the pot swirl. And this is my amber, or what represents the amber. It's the bronze satin. Isn't that pretty? So I'm going to go ahead and pour that just randomly. It's very, very workable. I'm going to save a little bit out for the top. And that was my cocoa brown, and this is my hunter green. I don't know, but sometimes my greens don't cooperate like the others. I'll go ahead and add just a little bit more. Now, because I don't want to muddy everything too much and I don't want to really blend everything, just going to give it a little stir. And I'm going to pour into my heated mold. And I think I'm going to pour this way. Laying that down. And then I'm going to try my pencil line. Let me move this. Have the worst time. And I don't want it too heavy, but I don't want it too light either. If you get it too heavy, the layers won't adhere. And I saw someone once blow to move the micas around. So, okay, now I'm going to pour the rest. But I'm probably going to break the line a little bit. I am trying to go slowly and gently, but we'll see. This is masculine, so the guys aren't going to really care. But I care. And I always leave just a little bit so that I can have a nice sample bar for myself. Okay. I'm going to take the rest of this see if I can get some kind of a top. And the water's warm. And I'm not real good with tops, so I'm just going to do something. But I love the fluidity of this formula. And that's all I'm going to do. And we shall see what happens. I'll see you later. Thanks for watching.